It's a typical week for Warhammer Plus, which means we get two things, and this week it's a battle report and a Lore Masters, and this week's Lore Masters is all about Nagash. If you look at a little chart on Warhammer Community, it says we get an animation as well, but that animation is Astartes, which, while it's amazing, it's not new, and we've all seen it on YouTube, Warhammer Community. We've probably all seen it dozens of times. So for this week, we don't actually get an animation because Astartes just doesn't count. It should have been there from launch. I don't know why it wasn't, other than to be able to pad out between 2 weeks when there's no animation, which would be this week. Wherever you look in the general Warhammer community, whether that's Twitter, my comments section, other videos around YouTube, it's all doom and gloom surrounding Warhammer Plus. So what I want to know is, what would get you to sub, or what would keep you from unsubbing? For me, it would be for them to start creating content that can't be created by fan animators. And I don't mean that from a technical point of view. Obviously the fan animators at the moment are technically better than anything GW can put out. I mean, Astartes compared to Ultramarines, are you kidding me? What I mean is things with the IP or integrations with the entire universe that maybe fan animators couldn't do, but with writers and all that kind of thing at their disposal, Games Workshop could do. So I would really like to see my favourite Black Library books turned into either series or movies. And I'm going to give you a wee list of them. I'm going to choose 3 from the old world, from Warhammer, and I'll choose 3 Warhammer 40k Horus Heresy type things. My first pick would be Gotrek and Felix. This would make a brilliant episodic show. They've already got the buddy thing going on. 2 completely different characters, but they get along and work well together. They've got great chemistry. Every book is against a different enemy. There's so much variety. There's so many places this could go. It could be absolutely fantastic. So that is definitely my number 1. My next pick would be The Legend of Sigmar Omnibus, and that would include Heldenhammer, Empire and God King. And it's one that I read almost every year. I don't think I've read it this year yet, but I will. Amazing books. It shows Sigmar as a flawed, vulnerable character who does make mistakes, but he still kicks some serious bottom as well. Even fights Nagash at one point. I just think this would make a fantastic series. I would definitely watch it. Obviously this is from the old world as well. Sigmar moves into the Age of Sigmar, strangely, but this one's from before the end times, well before in fact. Speaking of which, the next one would be the end times. It didn't just kill off a world, it killed off an entire universe. This is the thing that is always threatened, but is always averted at the last minute, only this time it isn't, and the absolute unthinkable happened. Games Workshop introduced Stormcast. Just kidding, the entire world blew up. I've got nothing against Stormcast, but the end times is such a roller coaster. There's threads of stories happening all across the entire world, and it's not just all darkness, there's some successes in there as well, so I think it would be fantastic yet again. On to 40k now, and my first pick would be Uriel Ventress. He's got loads of great stories. And not all of them are him just killing things in power armour, because that would be quite boring. A lot of the times he loses all the tools at his disposal and he has to work his way around those limitations, it makes for good storytelling. Don't worry, he does also fight a variety of Xenos races, just about all of them I think, and he's always got his buddy Pausanias by his side, or most of the time anyway, so it would be absolutely perfect. The next one is Storm of Iron, which is one of my favourite 40k books, and it's about the Iron Warriors besieging Hydra Cordatus and the Imperial Citadel. It's really cool to see the Iron Warriors in action. The scale of this is huge, and we get to see some characters from the Horus Heresy that have obviously survived, and that would be like Foryx, Honsu and Kroger. So we get to see what they're up to in the 40k universe, which is really cool. This is one of those great books that makes you root for the baddies almost as much as the goodies, and I think the main draw for me would be to see how the Iron Warriors go about their business and see how their trench system works and see how they besiege something, because although it's like static defences, they're still always pushing and putting pressure on the defences, so it's really interesting and I'd love to see it on the screen. My last one is a no-brainer and would be by far the most ambitious of all of them, and that would be the Horus Heresy. Now, I wouldn't expect the same level of detail as the Black Library series because that would be about 70 full-length feature films, and I would be about 75 by the time the Siege of Terra started, which is no good. So a cut-down series would be my preference. It would focus on all the main events of the Horus Heresy, and maybe the odd side story just to move it along a bit and introduce new characters. I think it would be absolutely amazing. They could show the main battles from the main chapters like Calth, Cygnus Prime, Istvan, Prospero. From a non-combat point of view, they could show the Council at Nicaea, the Imperium Secundus, Magnus popping in for a chat with the Emperor, that kind of thing. This would have to be totally premium though, none of your hammer and bolter style. It would have to be Astartes quality basically. If it was done well enough, I truly believe it could cross over into the mainstream and people might get interested in it in a kind of Game of Thrones type of way, but maybe I'm just being biased from a big Warhammer fan. So here's a question for you. What part of the hobby would you turn into a movie or a series? Tell me in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear that. So let's get into reviewing the content for this week. And we've first of all got Warhammer Vault, which is as consistent as usual. We've got one book, which is Realmgate Wars 3 God Beasts, and we've got 4 White Dwarfs. Now, as the vault gets bigger, a few people have mentioned that the search function isn't up to it, if there is even one, and it would be a lot better to be able to search all issues for whatever you're looking for. Like say you type in Blood Angels, then you get all the issues with Blood Angels in them, because flicking through when the vault gets absolutely massive just will not be practical. It's a small thing at the moment, but it's going to become a bigger issue as the vault grows. Lore Masters was all about Nagash this week, and it might be my imagination, but I think there was a lot more in this one. It seemed a wee bit more in depth. It was 26 minutes long, and it felt a bit more substantial than the other ones. That might just be my imagination. I don't know as much about Nagash as I do a lot of other things in the universe, so it might just have been that, but it was very interesting, and I actually liked it. It was actually quite promising, and it may be finding its feet, but it was still very short, and I do know there's better channels out there still. The best thing this week was the Angels of Death Kill Team Battle Report, and thankfully they didn't make us wait over a month for a satisfying conclusion. It was a battle report between Patrick and Nick, and it was really cool. I mean, all the terrain was monochrome, all the Gene Stealers were monochrome, the Blood Angels, they had the red lenses in, they had their names on their shoulder pads, and they were painted exactly like they are in the Angels of Death show. So this was really cool. See if they're going to do crossovers like this, I will be very happy. It's a little added thing, and it adds a bit of interest to the battle report as well. I think this is Games Workshop stepping up their game a little bit, and these integrations could be the difference between paid content and free content on YouTube. Doing it as a kill team was also a good idea because there's very few Blood Angels, but there should have been about 1 million more Gene Stealers. And also, is this spoilers for Angels of Death? If you've never watched one, do you know that there's actually Gene Stealers in it? Instead of an actual episode of Angels of Death, there's a 3-minute recap, so it's just going back over the events. There's spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen any of it, don't watch the recap, just start watching Angels of Death. I think we should be getting an episode next week, but I'm not too sure about that. So we finally get Astartes on Warhammer Plus, and it should have been there from launch. I don't know why it wasn't. I have my suspicions, which I've mentioned earlier, but anyway, it's there, and everything's now in one place, so if you want to watch a Warhammer animation, apart from all the ones that still aren't there, you can go and watch Astartes at least. So Sayama Pedersen, probably pronounced that wrong, and Erasmus Brodow of the Lord Inquisitor fame absolutely pushed on Warhammer animation further than I thought it could go. If you compare both those shows to Ultramarines, which was the Games Workshop offering many years back, it's night and day. In Astartes everything feels right, the hits have weight, the Space Marines move and react as you would expect them to, they don't mess about. There's a bit with a tech priest and he turns a bit evil, and the Space Marine, without even blinking, just deals with them. The set pieces are also brilliant. There's one that looks like it was taken from the Judge Dredd movie, and they're firing across a chasm at each other, and it's just amazing. It's just cinematically brilliant. I love it. To think that For the Main one person did this is just mind-blowing. I can't understand it. Astartes 2 is on the horizon, and I really want it sooner rather than later from a personally selfish perspective, but I can't wait. That'll be brilliant. There's a lot of expectation on it though, so I really hope it delivers. I think what we saw this week was Games Workshop being very clever. With linking the battle reports and the animations, they gave another dimension to their content, and something which the free content can't really do. They could have done it with Lore Masters as well and released an appropriate one at the same time. I suppose they kind of did it with Masterclass because they've been releasing gold, which is very Blood Angel-y, the red glazing tutorial, and the gems which could be used for blood drops. So it's all kind of tied in. This week counts as a no animation week because, well, we got Astartes, it's not new, and it doesn't count. The last time we got a no animation week, we got a bumper week of other stuff, and the fact that we didn't this time suggests that Games Workshop think that they're giving us enough. And spoiler, they're not. So that's it for this week. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.